Hello everyone, welcome to Redbusters channel. In this video, we'll look at the H1B visa 2026 lottery predictions. We'll look at a detailed analysis, look at some graphs and trends, macroeconomic factors and all of that. So if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe for getting regular updates. So this is what we'll cover in this video. Look at the key factors. There are about 7 key factors, right? So this is what we'll cover. So that's how we look at it. So just to set the context before we dive into, the predictions, right? So we believe there are about 7 factors. So we look at historical data. We look at how the US economy is doing. We look at the total number of F1 students who are either studying or on OPT. We look at the H4 visa situations. We look at the past applicants, who did not get selected. And we look at the new Trump administration. So these are the key factors that we believe, will have a significant impact or influence the total number of H1 registrations for the FY 2026 season. So the first one is historical data, right? I think when you want to look at anything, the first thing you want to see is how has it performed in the past, so that you can actually do some predictions. So just to give you a context, right? USCIS has done H1B lottery for the last 12 consecutive years. So that's a significant weight, right? 12 consecutive years they had lottery. So this graph, is based on data from 2004, fiscal year 2004, all the way until now, FY 2025. So we have actually tabulated the whole thing here, essentially, how the whole thing moved, right? During recession times, how the demand existed, and how it slowed down when there was no demand. And I think since 2014, so you can see the entire thing. Everything was done. So before the registration, there was actually you had to send physical application. That's why you see these April dates. But this changed, in 2021, FY 2021, when the whole process changed, and now we have electronic process for registration. So that's what changed. So what it tells, basically looking at this whole chart, is we will have H1B lottery for this year. That's given, because the demand is exceeding the supply of the available numbers. So that's why there is no doubt we will have this H1B lottery. That's what this indicates. So the second question is, how many H1B registrations can we expect, right? So that's the second one that you would want to look at, right? And if we see, this is a plot of essentially, how many has been submitted, since 2004 all the way until now, right? So if we see from 2014, we had lottery. So this, 1,24,000, 172,000, all of these, right? So last couple of years has been crazy. But the reality is, the 780K that you see here was because there's a lot of fraud going on. Some people are submitting like 20, 25, 30, registrations with that many offers. That's what the data said. But that was really, I would say it has come down since they changed the lottery rule last year. So last year it stood at close to 480K. So what it tells is, just looking at these numbers, right? As the hunch is, we may technically have around this or so. So we look at this in detail towards the end. But the idea is, just looking at the numbers, the demand is not decreasing, and we may be close to that number. So we look at that number towards the end. So, just stay with me until then, right? So that's the part. The drop, as I said, is due to the change in lottery process. Now let's look at the first one, is the US economy, right? The US economy, this is a graph that is plot from Trading Economics, right? Thanks to them for providing these plots. So if you see, the ones in orange are the US GDP growth rate, and the ones in the blue is unemployment rate. So if you see in the last 12 months or so, right, there's not a lot of activity. These are very, very minor changes, right? Not like the big drops or, picks, right? So if you see the GDP Q4 data last year, essentially like a few months ago, right? It's about 2.3%, and last year it was 3.2%, right? So it's about, it's considering it's significant, if you look at it just because the numbers, even though it's 1 percentage point is different, right? So what happens when the GDP slows down, growth rate slows down, is the economic activity reduces, and when the economic activity reduces, essentially the overall consumption reduces, and then this all boils down to number of less jobs, and when there are less jobs, less number of H1 H1B jobs also. So that's how all of these are kind of related, right? So that's how, if you look at unemployment, right, it's been about 4.1 and now 3.9, that's how it is. It hasn't really changed much, but all of these numbers, right, the unemployment rate does not really translate H1B jobs, because there have been a significant slowdown in the tech hiring, after the pandemic, right? If you look at the data from the H1B LCS that were filed, right, there's only 2%, increase in the H1B LCS filed for FY24. Well, it's not a full number, but it gives you a high-level idea that that it's not really growing at the pace we would want to, and also this is far from the FY22 level numbers, right? I mean, if you look at the overall numbers, it's very, very bad. So all in all, it tells that it's kind of cautious, like a neutral factor, I would say. The economy doesn't tell us too much. It may actually get tight with the Trump coming in. There are a lot of other changes coming in, so it may be slightly even tighter. So essentially, so that's how. I see this is a neutral factor, and it will not have a big, impact on either adding or reducing them, right? So now the other one is the number of F1 students in the US, either who came in or who are graduating or who are in OPT STEM OPT. So if you see the OPT students, right, there are about 242,000 OPT students in, as of the data of 2024 data, right? So that's a huge number of people that are on OPT. Essentially, the next logical path for all of these OPT students is to get a job and work in the US, right? If not all of them, at least good number of them. So there are 240K people looking for that, right? And now the second one is the total number of students, who enrolled in 2023 and 2022 are 850K, 858K. And, based on the statistics, about 460K of them are grad students, and they would graduate this year, right? I mean, in 2 years, they'll be graduating. So technically, if you add the just OPT students and these guys who are going to be graduating, that comes to about 700K students. So these are all potential people who are likely to either look for a job, or at least want to get some experience, or maybe, some of them may leave. But again, these are all, potential candidates who could be part of this lottery. So what it tells is there will be a huge demand for H1B, submissions or registrations from this segment of F1 students in the US. So that's the fundamental, message from this F1 students. So these will, the F1 students will add up to the overall, an overall number of H1B registrations. So the next one is H4 holders, right? H4 holders, since Trump administration took office, there have been like uncertainty around H4 EAD, because there is talks that they may remove it, and there have been a lot of court battles in the last term. So nobody knows what will happen. So that's why this could be a thing that is like not sure what will happen. So that's why people are uncertain. Maybe this will help more H4 holders to apply for H1B, right? And also the perm processing delays are crazy. It's about 490 days or 480, close to 500 days, right? So this also not help H4 holders, because they are waiting to be able to qualify for that H4 EAD. So all of these things are stuck up. So what this does is, more and more H4 EAD holders will apply for this upcoming H1B season. So that's what it'll tell, right? And now looking at the past applicants who are not selected, right? Nobody wants to give up, a thing just by trying once, right? So, that's the idea, right? So people want to like give it like, I would say, few times, right? So basically, to see that, not willing to give up hope with just one try. So that's the idea. So I think what we see is people will try more than once. The ease of registration and all of that, and the cost is not significant, right? So many people will definitely try for H1B, right? So this is what will happen. So what this factor tells us is that there'll be more applicants that will apply. So that's a key message from that. So the last one is the Trump administration impact, right? Trump, since they took office, right, they put in many executive orders around immigration. They're removing many of the Biden-related orders, policies, and all of that. So they've been pretty critical about H1B program overall, right? They did a lot of changes in their first term, and they're likely to do more and more in the upcoming months. So that's the idea, right? So this is not really helping the overall employees, right? So this will not encourage employers to apply for, help them apply, right? So they're probably discouraging, especially for the IT body shop kind of companies. So this will have a negative impact on the H1 registrations. Now that we looked at the entire set of factors, right, here is a summary of that, right? So based on the historical data, trends, it tells that we will have definitely H1B lottery. And that's the first one. The second one, looking at the US economy, it's a neutral factor. So we may have less or more or less the same kind of H1 registrations, right? Looking at F1 students, OPTs and all of that, we see that it will add up. So there'll be more H1 registrations. And looking at the H4 EAD H4 and H4 EAD holders, perm delays, this will also contribute higher. So there'll be more more H1 registrations from that. And looking at the past applicants who are not selected, there'll be more H1 registrations also. And the Trump administration policies on immigration, also this will discourage. So there'll be less. So this is like a snapshot of essentially all the factors and how they influence them in summary. One thing we want to look at the last is, just look at the numbers. So here are how many registrations have been submitted in the last 4 or 5 years since the registration was put in place. So if you see on the screen, right, the sweet number is basically registrations with only single offer or single registration submitted. That's about 423, right? And multiple offers were about 47,000. So the best guess, this is a starting point for us to look at the numbers. So we don't see that the numbers will go down below this 423K. Just looking at all of the numbers, we feel that, this year we may expect slightly lower number, maybe around the same. So anywhere from 460K to 520K, 460,000 to 120,000 registrations is what we're expecting during the H1B FY 2026 season. So again, this is the prediction, the best we could do, right, based on the past data. So we've been successful so far. So let's see how the numbers turn out. So what is your prediction for this H1B season? Share it in the comments. Look forward to your comments and feedback. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe for getting regular updates.